2025, and I will call this meeting of the Finance Committee to order. We have a full slate of members, and so we have a quorum, and I certify that we are in compliance with open meetings law. I do not believe we have any public comments, so we will move right into communications and presentations. Oh, Brett, Tony, did you want to say something? Yeah.
No, I just happened to be here on Tuesday night.
Tim, you've got the personnel up.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me now, Tim?
We can hear you.
I can't hear anybody.
Greg, can you hear me? I can hear you at the meeting room.
Okay. Well, I think
My end, it looks like you're muted, Tim.
Yeah. We'll proceed. So communications and presentations. The first item, Dave.
Yes, I have given my retirement notice. Yes, Thursday is my last day.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Moving right on.
Okay.
Dave, I want to thank you for the years that we've had in our finance committee here. You've done a massive amount of work on getting the accounting structure and all that stuff cleaned up, and a lot of, where you leave us in good shape. We're sad to see you go, but you are leaving us in good shape and good hands.
Well, thank you.
I'll second that. I thought it was ironic that I was in Florida when I saw the announcements, the land of retirement. Anything else on that item?
We're going to have Ellers is going to do an update. I think it was April 11th. That sound right?
Yes.
Or April 8th or whatever that date is.
I believe it's the 11th.
On the TIF district analysis. So they have it pretty much ready, but that's when Todd is going to be available to do the presentation. I think that's going to happen at council, or is it here, or both?
I'm assuming it's council because
Okay.
this is just informational only.
Yeah.
And it is the 8th.
Yeah, because I understand it came up at council at the last meeting, and we had already asked them to begin preparing that, and Nicole Marie had worked on a spreadsheet to give them the information they needed, particularly on the 51 West TIF area. So I think we had a pretty good jump start on it already, so you can look forward to seeing that.
Okay. Then the next item is the Stoughton family dental delinquency.
Becker Professional Services has given us a statement credit for $1,200 for their work performed. He has suggested he could call both Ellers and Stafford Rosenbaum, seeing if they would forgive the expenses or expenditures by the city. Well, first of all, I didn't think they'd do it. Secondly, I didn't think it was appropriate for one vendor to take that on with themselves. With that said, the mayor has directed me to write off the balance, which I believe is like $4,900 or something like that.
So I guess under the policy, finance director is authorized for $5,000 and less, and I'm authorized for up to $25,000, which I thought was a lot, but certainly we'll, try to be diligent about it. And it sounds like they're potentially going to relocate in another building in Stoughton, and expand what they have here. So we're excited about that. I talked to Attorney Matthey today, actually. We had a conversation about maybe some things that we could do to improve our cost reimbursement agreement, to make it clearer of what the expectations are, and maybe have some different levels of where it actually kicks in. Maybe it doesn't kick in at 0, maybe it kicks in at 5,000. The purpose of the cost reimbursement agreement is kind of couple. One was to really separate the serious developers from the unserious ones. And then, of course, the other one is to recoup some of the costs it takes for staff and professional services to move forward on doing the work that needs to be done, whether it's financial or legal or even planning and other departments. So we're gonna take a look at that as we move forward to see if we can make some improvements. So hopefully we won't come into this position again. They were understanding that when they made their TIF request that it would be eligible for just the main floor. We obviously encouraged them to do the whole building. And I think that's where there was a disconnect on what their responsibility was going to be when the council chose not to move forward on their TIF request. So hopefully, that's an opportunity for us to be a little bit clearer to future developers as well. But we want to at least give you an update so you knew what was going on there, because I think it was tabled until later on this month, but I don't really see a need to spend any more time and money on this one.
Any questions or comments on that?
I do have a comment. I said it last meeting, I'll say it again, that there's a signed contract. I don't know why we have to continuously write all this stuff off. When you signed a contract, I would think you'd understand what's in there and be responsible for it. So I disagree with it, but whatever.
And certainly I appreciate those comments, and we'll take that into consideration and try to do what we can to avoid having that again. So thank you for saying that.
Okay. Moving on to the next item is approval of the amended minutes for 2/11/2025. I will take a motion for that.
So moved.
Oh, go ahead, Adrian.
Okay, moved by
And then
Adrian
I'll second it.
and seconded by Brett. Any additions, any additional amendments or edits?
Okay.
Oops, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes. And the next one is the, hang on, are the meeting minutes from the last meeting, February 25th.
I'll move to approve that.
Second.
Okay. Same move and second, just reversed.
Yep.
Any edits or comments or questions on those? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Next item, this is a time-sensitive item. Let me pull it up here. This is a resolution R24 of 2025 to amend the 2025 adopted budget, Fund 410 Capital Outlay Carry Forwards. Do I have to make a motion here or just at the council? do I make the motion now, or
No.
do we open it up for?
It's open for
Okay,
discussion.
thank you.
When the 25 budget was being prepared, the various departments gave us indications of which projects they think is going to be carried forward, and their best estimate at the time for carry forwards. So as we started working on the year-end process, bottom line, the departments wanted to carry forward $2 million more than was available in the fund to carry forward. So the departments either move some of the things into 26 or reduce the scope of something in 25, or made some adjustments here because they said, oops, this one is finished, this one we need a higher amount. We discovered that the general fire alarm panels wasn't included in the budget. And for the Mant Park, the PowerPoint presentation we had at CIP showed Mant Park Phase 1A and Phase 1B, but the Excel spreadsheets, and that's what was adopted, only had 1A. So we had to add money to it. I'm going from memory, this added about 105,000, something like that, for the amount of debt issued because of all the changes that they were making. And it did lower expenditures based upon everything we had here. It was a very busy table behind this showing all the changes that are being made. So I'm going to open up the floor to you folks. Do you have any questions on anything? I'll try and answer them.
I know in the Parks and Rec Committee, we did a lot of moving. So thank you, Tony, for leading that a month ago. Any questions?
I don't think so. Is there anything you guys wanted to cover while you're here?
I think the biggest thing to understand is as we go through the carry forward process is that we give our best guess at where we are in, say October, November-ish, as we go into probably actually September, October-ish. But a lot of those costs are unknown until we get to the end of the year. So you'll see there's a lot of carry forwards. We work with Dave and Nicole Marie on truing up those numbers as we go forward. So it's a tough process, especially when we're dealing with vendors that give us timelines that they don't meet. Then we tell Dave, hey, we're gonna get this done by the end of the year, and it doesn't happen. So a lot of that, when it comes to our projects, that's what happens, and then we have to true it up at the end of the year and go through this process. So, any questions specifically on any items or anything?
Of equipment in that, are there still significant delays in that supply chain yet?
It's getting much better, I'll tell you that. So the boom truck that's in there, that was supposed to be delivered this month. It's been delayed because we go through and the spec and make sure that everything's on it that we ordered. And they forgot some items, and this was already delayed last year. So it's just a frustrating process, not only for us, but from the finance standpoint and trying to get these things finished. But we require that we get our products that we ordered and get them complete. So we anticipate we're going to work through this one and take delivery of a truck like that this year. The orders that we've placed POs for a long time ago, those are starting to come in on time. So I think things are getting much better in the supply chain when it comes to like truck chassis and the build out. But we're also working with our vendors and suppliers because they run into staffing issues now, like building our trucks, for example. We no longer go through Madison Truck, we're going through Burke Truck, just because of the time frame to get these trucks through. So there's a lot of things behind the scenes that we have to try to make work to try to navigate some of these issues, but you know, I appreciate you guys working with us and kind of moving some of these things to different years as needed.
I think I've heard that in other departments, some of the vehicles are coming in as well.
Yeah. So things are getting much better. We're kind of getting past that COVID crunch, so to speak. So things are getting much better. I wish prices were getting better. They're not getting better on the large truck side. The medium duty truck side is getting a little bit better, but still not anywhere close to what pre-COVID prices were. So we're trying to keep our trucks longer. So our plow trucks, for example, instead of 15 years, we're keeping them 20. We are putting more stainless steel products on them to keep them longer. We charge our staff with keeping them clean, especially being in that environment, you know, keeping the salt off of them. So that's just the reality of where we're at now. We got to keep them longer and keep them, and build them better and keep them longer. So.
Any other questions?
Greg Jensen has his hand raised.
Thank you. Greg? We can't hear you, Greg.
Are you able to unmute them on your end, Dave, or Nicole Marie?
No, I just tried.
I notice he is logged in twice.
I don't know, I think we might have to boot them off and have them try to log back in.
Greg, try talking now.
Okay,
There we go.
can you hear me now?
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can hear you now.
Okay, you got me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So what I was saying is that I noticed that on the resolution, it has a decreased expenditure of $332,412 and an increased debt proceeds of $106,509. Can I have a little bit better explanation about that? Does that mean that we're looking at a 226,000 rather than, you know, what does that mean?
Two separate things. When
Okay.
you're looking at the expenditures, that's based upon all the numbers that were provided to us or our best estimates for a department that didn't respond to us. And then after that, you look at whether it's grant revenue, fund balance applied, or debt issue. For instance, the fire department solar panels, we thought would be done in '24, so there's nothing in the '25 budget. We're adding that, but there's a 30% tax credit of, if I remember right, 42,000. So it's a lot of moving parts to get at those specific numbers.
Excuse me, so then the effect, or the total effect to the budget is that $438,000 then?
Well,
Or,
yes and no,
Well,
because there's changes to fund balance applied. I didn't go through that. So just think of these as two separate things. because I did not report on every revenue source by itself.
I guess what I'm looking for is what's gonna be the total effect of the budget? Dollar, just bottom line dollars.
Bottom line, the expenditures will go down by 332,000. So the departments will spend less money according to the budget. And we're also issuing more debt because the department still wanted to use fund balance for various projects. So I apologize if it's confusing you. Nicole Marie, you want to add anything?
That's okay, numbers big,
Okay.
I have to be sure of what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to do is kind of Brett mentioned earlier, I don't know if you could hear him at the time, at the beginning, is we're really trying to get this stuff cleaned up because some of this is legacy over a period of years, and the fund balance where things were borrowed for and maybe came in over or under budget or never was spent at all. And Dave's trying to get clean this up on the way out because we're going to be borrowing money here shortly, and we want to make sure we give Ellers a good number.
Yeah, I just hate to increase our budget at all, but, I think we need to clean stuff up, so, okay, I'm fine.
It seems to me the net result is a decrease in the budget, so.
Well, depends on how you look at
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Expenditures dropped by 332, and therefore revenues had to drop by 332. Different things in the revenue might have gone up, like additional tax credit, but we needed more debt, that sort of thing. Learning from this, I've been at.
Go ahead, Dave, I'm sorry.
Learning from this, we will probably not do fiscal impact showing additional revenues. We'll just put the expenditures and remind the council that we have to have a balanced budget where expenditures equal revenues.
Any other questions, anything else, Dave or Nicole Marie?
Well, just kind of bottom line, we had unspent debt proceeds of about $2 million, 2.2, something like that. So that's restricted fund balance, but we've already had a deficit for everything else in the fund balance because we've been spending that money. So the financial statements are going to look weird.
Dave, do you see any issues when it comes to the audit?
Well,
Because of this?
this is actually amending the 25 budget. It doesn't affect 24 at all. The activity that we did mid-February, I believe it was, for the surplus and deficit for all the departments, that was a 24 budget adjustment, and the auditors
Okay.
have been updated on that.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'd make the motion to recommend to council.
Okay, Greg makes the motion,
Second.
seconded by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes. The last of our current items is discussion and possible action regarding Stafford Rosenbaum 2026 municipal rates. And we got a doc on that too.
And I can provide some background if you'd like.
Thank you.
So the city and Stafford Rosenbaum, so my firm, we have a 4-year agreement, and we are now in the last year of that agreement. So wanted to, I guess, bring this all to your attention that we're in the last year of this agreement. That way, if the city is interested in sort of re-upping with my firm, we can work on doing that. If you're interested in going to an RFP or seeing what else is available, you've got significant runway to do that. So I guess just for the sake of discussion, and I provided the rates that we have for that we do with our standard municipal clients in 2025. So these are different than the current city rates. The city's rates under the agreement with my firm, they are lower than what this proposal, or what my firm's like general 2025 rates are. So the rates that we charge Stoughton for like just general services, so like attending meetings, drafting ordinances, those types of things, so my rate is $225, associates is $195, and then for like the land use development work, my rate right now is $285, and associates are at $225. So there's a bit of a jump from what's in our previous agreement versus my firm's current rates. And part of that is we had a significant inflationary period 2 years ago, so we bumped our rates up for all of our other clients. So that sort of explains why there's kind of a bigger gap there. But generally, our rates go up about 3 to 5% per year. We try to follow whatever CPI is, right around there, rounding up to nearest 5 or 0 increments, or rounding down sometimes. So I guess I have really enjoyed working with Stoughton. I know I transitioned from Matt Dregney, who had represented the city a long time, and I have really enjoyed working with the city. We've got a whole team of lawyers that work with the city on a lot of different topics, and I know Jane has been working closely with Tony on the Whitewater Park. We have real estate people, we've got environmental people, so we've got a big team of people that are working with the city on a lot of different things, and we'd love to obviously continue our relationship with the city, but we want to respect your decisions on whatever path you all want to choose. So that's why I wanted to bring it up for discussion, just to see what direction the city has, or the committee has, and if you have any questions for me about what representation might look like in past this year.
Just a question, you may not know the answer. Based on, based on the, rough average amount of hours that you spent, what kind of a bottom line increase? Estimate?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know the total amount we billed last year, and part of it too is like, I'd say a significant portion gets billed to developers, so some of that increase gets eaten by the developers. I would have to pull what our bills were. I think like total it was like in the 200 to 225 range total of our bills last year, but that's just a really rough estimate, and a lot of it gets billed back to developers, so I don't have an exact number for you.
I think that's something that we can pull, the finance department probably look that up. We have budgeted kind of some minor increases the last several years. The issues have gotten to be more complicated, as you probably know just from being at the meetings, especially the developers. As Rick mentioned, those are reimbursable either directly from the developers or even the TIF districts. They're typically TIF eligible on most of the projects as well. And then, we're also, we're taking on some ambitious projects like updating quite a few of our zoning ordinances. We had several of them that we looked at last night at planning that'll end up coming to city council. Rick mentioned stuff down on the river that's gotten to be a thing in itself. So we're trying to push that along, and some of that really feels like it's beyond our control, but we've expressed a desire to keep things moving, to keep the expense down. So hopefully we're making progress on that. I know Tony's working hard on that. And then just really our daily things that we do as far as the other ordinances, we're also in the process of updating ordinances for like our committees right now. Not even half of them are defined in our ordinances. We're in the process of doing all of them. Rick's going to be reviewing that. I sent him an ordinance a couple of weeks ago for the committee of the whole. He's working on one for vaping in our zoning code. So just a variety of kind of, I'm going to call them pressures, but just a variety of issues that have surfaced here in the last several years, and not to mention some of the things that have gone on at the state level concerning elections and alcohol laws and just a whole bunch.
It's a never-ending list.
It really is. I don't even want to look at his plate because we try to take something off and 5 more things land on it.
Do you charge differently for DNR?
Probably don't want to know that number. But so there has been a variety of things that, like I said, are beyond our control, but our constituents expect us to deal with some of these other issues as well. And then we also, does this include the court system as well?
Yeah, so the prosecution services, yes. So currently Isaac in my office does the prosecution work for the city. So there's a pretty significant volume of just ordinance violation cases. He's gotten really good at them, so he's pretty efficient, but he still has initial appearances twice a month, so he's got to come down and just sit here for a few hours for the judge and do initial appearances. So I just talked with him today. I think that's like 10 to 12 hours a month usually. If there's a trial, it's significantly more. But so that includes the ordinance prosecution as well. So first offense drunk driving, speeding tickets, zoning violations, all of those we handle.
Any comment?
I can just tell you from a staff perspective, and we have other staff members here, and they're welcome to speak to it, that we're real pleased as far as...
I can leave the room, Brett, if you want.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm really pleased as far as not only the quality of the work, but the responsiveness, which is really important when we're trying to keep the balls in the air and keep things moving. I think that Rick has been very available, and when he's not, somebody else is emailing us on his behalf. So go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, I'll just echo that. Having Rick is very responsive to all the things that we ask him for. The myriad of different things that we ask him for, he definitely gets back to us in a timely manner. It's nice to have that consistency as well that represents us. So from our standpoint, I don't want to speak for you, Tony, but we're very pleased with Rick and the service that he's provided to us.
You've touched on it a little bit, Rick, as well. I fortunately or unfortunately have not had a lot of need to consult with attorneys in my life. But I have gone through a lot of RFPs in my career, and there's an opportunity cost that you touched on in terms of, your team has knowledge of our city and our needs and such that would have to be rebuilt in the event that we were to switch. So my general inclination, my assumption is that rates are not going to be terribly different across the board. So I've been impressed.
Yeah, I can't say what the market rate is. I think we're in that general range, but I appreciate all the comments.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I would say we did go out over an RFP. It's been several years ago now. And really, we did find that the rates were competitive. And I would say that the bench was definitely deeper with your firm than most of the other ones that responded to the RFP. And that's really important for a community that's our size and growing, because we can't expect a single attorney to know everything about every single issue. But as a team, their firm has done a nice job providing us those services.
And I guess to that point, because we utilize a team approach, we try to utilize, we think there's efficiencies in that, right? So if it's going to take me 10 hours to figure something out, I can just give somebody a call and I get the answer in 20 minutes that I'm looking for. So that's, whenever something comes through on my plate, I'm trying to think of who's best positioned to answer this question or handle this in the most cost-effective manner for the city.
We paid Stafford Rosenbaum about $41,000 last year.
What was the amount?
About $41,000. No, that can't be right.
No.
No, that
I don't think that's right.
Because I see bills for $16,000 to $20,000.
Yeah.
Rick's checking his numbers right
I'm
now.
like-
Wait a minute.
I'm trying to run reports on the fly. It doesn't work so fast.
We'll get back to you on the total.
Okay.
So I guess, what would the process be? I mean, we really have two options here, is to put out an RFP or to renew, and I don't know if you want to talk about how that works.
How would that work?
Yeah, so, I mean, part of it is how you, as a city, would want to handle it. So we have a 4-year agreement right now. We could do something similar like that, because that, it gives you some certainty, I guess. In a lot of the other communities I work with, we basically just have sort of like a standing agreement, and if they're ever unhappy with me, they can fire me whenever they want. So I'm comfortable either way. So, if you wanted to enter into like a longer term 4-year agreement, we could figure out how to do like a similar structure that we did last time around, where we have sort of set increases, or just say like it'll be tied to CPI or something along those lines. It's really your discretion. I'm very flexible in working with the city to find an agreement that works for everybody.
And so, regardless of whether we look at, like an evergreen contract or a 4-year or some extended contract, what would be would something be drafted, come here, and then we would make a recommendation to council, I assume?
Yeah, I think that would make sense as far as process goes.
About how long, give or take, would that take, the negotiation piece?
Well, I can leave the room if you want, but so I guess what I would say is, so like these are our 25 rates. I would anticipate our 26 rates would go up 3 to 5% somewhere in there. I guess I don't know what the next 8 months are going to look like, but so this is like a starting point, right? If we wanted to, I guess I would defer to you on how you want to like the negotiations to go. It's sort of a weird position for me because I represent the city, and it's like negotiating with the city on something. It's a little different position.
Updated number, 271,000 for 24.
A little higher than I thought, but I think STI might have played a role.
So any thoughts from the committee?
I'd like to see us establish a longer term, or like a 3-4 year-ish contract. If we go with, well, I mean, it'll be council's decision ultimately, but I think to structure a 3 or 4 year agreement again, because then that at least makes it a little bit easier for us to get a concept in the budget anyway.
Yeah, and knowing that we still have to go to council, I can try to do like a quicker turnaround on something for you all to consider and recommend to the council. That way, if they say they want to go a different direction, there's still time for going the other direction.
Yeah, because your contract runs out end of the year, right?
Correct.
Okay.
End of December.
All right.
Great.
Greg?
Sorry, that's my dog. Yeah, he's agreeing with Brett. Yeah, he's agreeing with Brett, and so am I. I think that if we could just do a long-term contract similar to what we did before, that would behoove the whole city, and just make things a much more smooth transition from, basically from what we got to what we got. So I'm all in favor of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we pretty much have unanimity.
Okay. Well, I can start working on that and work with the mayor on bringing something forward to you all.
Sounds good. And then we have future agenda items, so investment portfolio review, referendum to exceed levy limit statutes, and then we talked about Alder Legaki's request for the next meeting. Anything else we need to add? Dave, Nicole, Marie, anything you feel like we need to add?
If you are going to go with Lukaki's request, the council needs to say where the money's coming from to pay for it.
And I'll also add for the future agenda items, I know we had a long list at one time. Dave, you've cut that down by a lot.
Well, between Nicole Marie and I, a lot of the policies were her starting points, and I just reviewed them.
Okay, anything else for the good of the cause?
Nope. Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn from Brett,
Second?
second from Greg. All in favor?
Aye.
I
Any opposed? Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you, Dave, for all you've done.